Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special discussion from the Collaboration for Healthier Lives Coalition of Action at the Consumer Goods Forum on employee well-being, where we sit down with the experts. Today, I'm happy to welcome on board Erin Kappelhof, CEO of Eat Well Global, a strategic consultancy firm that specializes in food and nutrition. So thanks so much, Erin, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Today, we're going to talk about a practical look at the employee well-being framework. So let's jump right in. Erin, how would you explain the rise in interest in employee well-being from businesses as well as from employees themselves? What's going on and what are the major trends?
Well, I think there are a lot of drivers for this. Of course, we have those 4 C's. We had COVID that we just went through and are finishing up. We have the climate crisis, which is having all kinds of effects. There's a cost of living crisis. And there are geopolitical conflicts going on all around the world. And these things are really taking a toll on people's health, both their physical health and their mental health. And these are challenges that can no longer just be dealt with on an individual basis. They can't be hidden or dealt with quietly. They are really disrupting all kinds of things that are related to the workplace, supply chain problems, disruptions, there's reductions in productivity, there's just people generally just really recalibrating how they consider work-life balance. So there's just a lot happening. And then at the same time, in parallel to that, there's an inflection point in business really going on where society is kind of redefining the purpose of corporations, why they exist, who they work for, and what that concept of shareholder primacy really should mean. So the old way is kind of not working anymore. And so we're seeing a pretty major reorganization of priorities, of power, and that's related to all stakeholder groups, especially employees.
No, thanks for that. And it is true that nowadays a new statistic has come out that employees spend about a third of their lives of work. So of course, their health and well-being is going to be a priority. But how is making health a priority beneficial for brand positioning?
Well, for most companies, most organizations, employees are also consumers, and they're a really important consumer segment. So, for example, if a manufacturer has a very strong health positioning, either on a corporate level for their organization as a whole, or certain brands or categories within the company, it's really a reputational risk if they do not carry that priority over into their most important day-to-day brand ambassadors, being the employees that keep that company running every day. So it's really about brand integrity. And this is true across the board, whether it's a food manufacturer that has a health positioning, a pharmaceutical company, personal care, supplements, retailers, food service, it's across the board. If there's a health positioning for the company, they really need to be considering the stakeholders that are employees as well. And I think this really hits close to home for us as Eat Well Global, as we've worked for a decade with our mostly multinational clients in the food and beverage space, and we partner with them on developing health and wellness strategies. But those have mostly been focused on their portfolio of their services or their products that they produce. And we've been trying to nudge them, to include employee health and well-being in those strategies for years. But it's really only been in the last couple of years that it's catching on. And they're coming to us with this need, which I think is obviously also reflective in the fact that CGF has designated 2023 as the year of well-being. It's really all coming to a head right now.
But I guess what we are wondering, even at the CGF ourselves, is that say a company's well-being advocates have access to the research, toolkits, guidebooks, and more. We have all this information coming at us at this point, and there is an employee well-being strategy in place, and it's ready to be launched. A company is ready to take that step. But what are the obstacles that lie ahead, and how can these strategies be effectively integrated in the workplace in a way that's also long-lasting?
I think that's a really good question. And I would say it's a lack of interconnectivity. So traditionally, the employee experience has been squarely in the domain of HR or the people function or the departments that handle benefits or what is done for employees. But today, and largely because of the reasons I just mentioned, the demand is coming from all different angles. So R&D really cares about what the portfolio looks like and how that is has an interplay with their goals as a company. Corporate communications or marketing, they're working on those large ESG goals and looking at what's going on with that strategy. And it's all starting to be interconnected. And that's really exciting and great because it means there's momentum. It means it's becoming a priority. But the challenge, especially with large traditional multinational organizations, is that the business structures just haven't caught up yet. So things aren't moving as quickly as they can to achieve kind of that full integration or full implementation. So that's one thing. But I think another thing that companies can do, which isn't maybe technically related to well-being, but it certainly has an impact, is to ensure that employees have a very strong sense of purpose. So knowing why they get up every day, why they work for this organization, why they care about what they do, what is the organization doing for the world, that can truly, deeply have an impact on an employee's sense of well-being so that they understand why they're doing it. So that's also really hugely important.
So this is definitely challenging for the businesses themselves, but how important is it for them to walk the talk when advocating for employee well-being? Because it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. It's super important. Employees know when well-being intentions are just lip service, when there are lofty goals coming from the top, but they're not trickling down. So, but I think also there's a lot of fear from leadership in terms of how to tackle well-being. Where is that line between what's appropriate in the workplace, what they can talk about, what they can offer, what they can do, and what's not? So it's new territory. But I think those forward-thinking companies are really diving right in. They're embracing the imperfection of it all and trying to tackle these challenging topics because they have to. They need to figure it out. And so it's through trial and error. They are, trying things out. They're experimenting. And I think that openness and transparency can really go a long way. I just heard about a book last week and I haven't read it yet. So it's on my next on my list, but it's all about this topic. It's called Imperfectionists: Strategic Mindset for Uncertain Times by Robert McLean and Charles Kahn. And apparently the main purpose of this, the main point of this book is that for brands to thrive today, they really need to be able to embrace imperfection and experiment. And I think that can be really, really scary. It's a new way of thinking about business. So I'll give you an example of what's happening in our company, Eat Well Global. In the past couple of years, we've embarked on our own journey to establish healthy workplace boundaries, which as a consultancy, you can imagine can be pretty challenging. The consulting sector is known for intense work environments, but we felt like it was really key for our team to deal with this topic, to find a way to tackle it, because it was the root of the challenges that we were facing when it comes to well-being. So I think a lot of companies are looking at what can they add, what new benefits can they create or give to their employees to make it nicer to work there. So mindfulness days and fitness benefits and things like that. And those things are great and important, but without addressing the root cause of why maybe employees are not feeling so great about coming to work, those problems won't go away. So we have been working with a fabulous consultancy called Gigify Work out of Canada to help us figure out what those boundaries are for ourselves as individuals, as a team, when we work with clients, and even us as leadership, so that we can create a better environment. And we're figuring it out. We're working our way through. We're trying things. We're experimenting. We don't have it quite right yet, but we're working on it. And I think companies that just get in there and start will see some positive effect.
Thank you so much for sharing, Erin, and sharing your examples as well. It's extremely important for every company to just start their journey on employee well-being. It's a long road ahead, but I think we will get there. Thank you so much for listening to this special episode from the CGF Collaboration for Healthier Lives Coalition of Action. Many, many thanks to Erin for joining us today, and continue to engage with our 2023 Employee Wellbeing campaign using the hashtag #WellbeingAtWork, and visit our website, tcgfhealthierlives.com, to know more. Thank you and goodbye.